So I'm going live. Or at least I hope so. Yeah, guess we'll find out. Don't know why YouTube always says an error has occurred. And then it says, no, it's okay, just kidding. We're live. It's almost like they're trying to convince you not to go live. And it's, well, is that BLK 1984? No, I don't know. Book. Hey, Nathan Hopkins. How's things? Alright. Surgical padding down on the bench. Roy Brown, Eric. Okay. First order of the day. This thing's been annoying me all day. I've been doing yard work for quite a bit now, and I've got some kind of splinter or something in my finger, and it is driving me insane. So I'm going to have a look under the microscope. I mean to do this all day, but this is the first time I've had a chance to actually sit down and scratch my finger, so to speak. Alright. YouTube even delivered a notification. Well, we are in for a treat tonight then. Let's see. I suppose I'll see what my finger has in it first, and then I'll decide what implement of death to use. Have I sterilized the area? No. Oh, I know what this is. Huh. Yeah, no problem. This is... let me see, I'll drop it down. This is what happens when you have a beard and you shave the beard and then you scratch away at the shaved area. You get pieces of your beard in your fingertips. Ah, Sean, excellent. Thank you very much for that. Okay, well, I've got to get this splinter out. I got to pick a suitable... terrifying... No, you're no good. Yeah, no, you're no good. Maybe the titanium ones. I'm not going to scrape this out or anything. I'm going to get in there and dig this little SOB out. We're going to go serious style. We're going to use a fresh blade. Normally I can just pull them out, but this one's gotten a little bit too much into me. Normally I get dozens of them. This one just sort of sunk in a bit too far, and I think part of the problem was that with all the labouring work that I've been doing and the gloves, it kind of just kept pushing it in deeper. Hey, fixing things? Ah, shame about that MacBook repairs. Yeah, I suppose we should douse the area with appropriate alcohol. And focus as well. Let's see. Good thing this isn't my appendix. Ah man, that stings. But it's not this that's stinging, it's that. That stings. That's something else. I used to love watching surgical shows as a kid. As an adult though, not so much. Splinter removal is so much fun. These titanium tweezers. One thing I will have to say, for all the hype of the titanium tweezers, they really don't live up to it. The problem is titanium, while having superb high temperature properties, is actually not a very hard... it's a very soft sort of metal too, and that just don't even match up there. My problem here is I've got nothing that matches up. Ah. Yeah, I'll just hack the whole finger off. There we go. Ah, sweet satisfaction. Did I get the Vitas? Yeah, I did. Where are they? Is this the Vitas? Oh no, I got the ESD11s. I was comparing the Vitas ESD11s with these ones. So the closest, these are my generic ones that I've had for eons and haven't really found suitable replacements for. The Vitas seem close enough, but they are not as good. I'm just going to keep filing these ones down. Someone keeps hitting me with my mail. Let's see if this is important. Oh no. Just someone lamenting to me about how many new phone jobs they've got come in since they got back from holiday. A couple of people will probably know who that is. Ah. We'll have to make a note to myself now that I do have a new blade in that knife, so I have to not be loose-handed with it, else I could lose a hand. Alright. Anyway, let's get to the tasks at hand. We got a 2012 supposedly. 1278, and we've got this rather cute, oh, it's an A1370. Alright, this is going to be fun. This is not the A1465 that for some reason I was thinking. I know I was told it was probably an A13 series, but my brain's tossing out information left, right and centre lately. Yeah, surgery's closed. Ah. Fixing things, you're giving away the secrets there. Alright. Now I'm trying to remember what the problem was with this one. Mr. Potts, would you care to identify? Let's see if we can get a win out of this. Now the big problem with the 13, I keep getting this lost in my head, 1370 and 1369s, is they were a little bit prone, or they are a little bit prone to CPU death, which is why the 1466 is so popular, because with the 3437 and the 00165 to a slightly lesser degree, the CPUs, the whole board basically was just a superior design, and probably the pinnacle of Apple non-faulting boards. Alright, yeah, so you can see these ones have the separate PCH and or is MCP, whatever. Peonov will correct me, he always does, and the CPU. Overall the machine looks pretty clean straight off the bat. Let's have a look. I probably should fire it up and see what actually happens, but yeah, I like a bit of a challenge on these ones. These are not job boards, these are challenge boards. I find challenge boards are great for a challenge. I'm going to say that word too many times, aren't I? Alright, well there we go. Straight up, we've got our corrosion on the bottom edge there, and that is on the favourite JTAG-ish type port that Lewis loves to destroy. So that could be our first issue. It's not guaranteed that it's the only issue, but it's certainly will create some problems because those lines are corroded together. It's not to say it's the end of the story, but it's the start. Okay, looks good. So we'll take this board out, because chances are if I've got corrosion in this side, there's possibly some on the other side. There's certainly worth taking the board out to have a look, and these are really easy to take out. Famous last words. Bob. From the first state. What's the first state? New South Wales? Was it Victoria? Oh my god. I don't even know my Australian history. But that's how you know you're dealing with a true Australian. Because if you ask for the history of Australia and whatnot, like, yeah, the colonial history, because let's be real, there's quite a bit more before that. But if we're talking colonial history, true Australians, at least colonial Australians, will go, I don't know, mate. Stuff do I know. And that's pretty much when you know you're dealing with a typical person, like me, who doesn't know anything about their country. Come on, get off. The scary thing is I'm not actually even a Queenslander, so I really should know better. Wow, that's on tougher than I expect. Something's going on there. That is a tough clip to get off. Anyway, pitch. You know, slugging along, keeping the bread money rolling. The usual sort of things. I did get my quail enclosure finished up sufficiently well today. I now have a bunch of quail huddled up in there thinking, dear God, what happened to us? We were in a nice place and now we're in this foreign place. So yeah, those poor little chaps are going to be a bit uncertain as to what's going on. Hopefully none of the roaming animals will cause them too much distress. There are cats and dogs that hang around here quite a lot. I can tell because the amount of cat and, well, mostly dog poop that I step in, particularly when I was trying to build the aviary out there. It was like the constant smell of dog leftovers. So really, one way for me to fix that is to enclose the entire area. That where I have that aviary is actually the phase 2 wedge extension, fencing extension. So if I got my behind into gear and got that phase 2 finished, then I wouldn't have these problems. Hey Mitch K, thank you for that. Canadian 5, so that'll be about the same as an Australian 5. What to do when the chip that is supposed to be creating the power rail isn't actually on the board from the factory? That will what board is it? Chances are you'll find there's another chip doing that purpose. Most boards will have can't get that off. Most boards will have multiple different design options, either because they were just giving themselves a chance for different opportunities, or they had multiple suppliers, and depending on which supplier won the contract, depends which one they went for, and that way they didn't have to respin the board. Particularly on MacBook boards and PC boards, there's enough space on these boards to have multiple options. And then just depending on which one you populate, that's the one that it goes with. You'll find most circuit boards will actually have that sort of thing happening, because after after you've done a few designs, you start to realize that you just can't trust your suppliers, or you just can't depend on things, or you're just giving yourself some alternate options in case the one you're planning on is actually designed wrong and you don't get an opportunity to respin the board again. So you've got yourself a fail-safe option. Hey Alan, what? Yeah, alright, you're late to the ring toss, buddy. Yeah, it's already been decided that there. See? Corrosion in the SPI area. But no, there's the real winner. It's the BIOS. That BIOS is gone. And oh wow, look at that. That's gone. So now that's not a used area, but that level of corrosion could be causing sort of issues with the signaling, because a lot of those pads, even though it's not populated with a part, will actually have active signals on them, of course. And that resistor is pretty much cactus. So, but see, look, that cap's been pushed off the board. Hey Vogon. Would I step in daily serious? Yeah, I should start doing that. Paul in the real world. Top rail a U7501 comes from nowhere. Have you worked on an A1304? No, I haven't. I generally have avoided all the... Oh, no, this... Okay. Essentially what's happened is this is the bottom edge of the board. And so at some point something has splashed at the back of the computer, and it has duly ingested and sprayed that everywhere. So this here. Interesting, the backlight's fine. Backlight ball's fine. So yeah, that's damaged. That track, that's not really a problem. But I'd say more than anything the BIOS cap and area is probably one of our big culprits, and then that bit of corrosion there probably isn't helping. And that certainly wouldn't be helping. I wonder what this resistor does, because that looks like it took a pretty serious hit. Vogon, the phase 1 of the fencing is complete, so which means now that the kitty cats can roam free in their new area, but they do have about another 200 square meters that they probably would like to. Actually, no, it's probably close to 300 square meters that they don't yet have access to. But it's a hard slog doing that fencing. To be fair though, best I get it done sooner rather than later. Is this going to be a 34, 35 or whatever it is? No, wait, that's... If you're wondering why I'm panning around like a lunatic here, it's because I'm looking for the board code. So I can bring up the board view. Seriously, where's the board code on this? That's the problem with board codes, is when people say, where do I find my board code? You have to know the board code to know where to find the board code. After a while you do get used to the various patterns that you can see, and you can quickly determine which is which. Like the 34, 37 and the 00165, they're fairly quick to distinguish. Oh yeah, I'm feeling like an idiot here. I can't find this board code. Paul, see, KDO, CAC. You mentioned switching from alcohol. Could you give details? That's with the ultrasonic cleaning. Previously I would always, after it came out of the ultrasonic, I would put it through distilled water or deionized water, depending on which was available. and then after that I would put it in an alcohol bath to help absorb that water, and then I would put it into the oven. But there was a passing mention at some point where someone said not to worry about the alcohol portion of that process and just go straight from the distilled water into the oven. And so I gave it a shot, and sure enough, it actually gave superior results than the alcohol. Is it under here? So yeah, so now I don't use IPA, alcohol, whatever, for my jobs. I'm blind. Someone's gonna 3208. Let's try 3208 because I'm blind. I'm sure it's there. It's like when I'm looking for something in the pantry or the fridge. Let's see, are you the 3208? I think this might be... yeah. No, this is not the 3208. This, in that case, must be a 3024. Wait, 3024, yeah. Yep, this is a 3024. Thank you for that. We'll just go into the composite view. And the way I was able to distinguish it was 3024 is because we've got these two large inductors. And that's them up here. And on the 3208, that's not there. So now if I'm ever confronted with this board again, I'll know to look for those two inductors. If I see them, I'll go, I know what this board is, but I've forgotten already what it is. And to that effect, oh, I wonder if it was under the foam. I'm trying to remember now. Oh, it was a corrosion that we wanted to look at. Specifically that resistor there. Okay. This here I think might be the syspower all good generator. Anyway, so we've got that. Let's see if we can match that up. Here we go. And that's you. DMI 2R bias. Okay, that's probably not a crucial thing. I mean, yeah, it's important, but not super crucial. I'll clean up this bias too. Did Lewis mention you on live stream helping donations? Yes, I did get informed about that, and I did go and see it, and I did see that he pinned that conversation as well. It was extremely nice of him to do that. Very nice, actually. We were commenting the other day something about it'd be amazing if he's got what, 850 odd thousand subscribers. Can you imagine if you got 10 cents from each person at that subscriber level just once a year? It's a tremendous amount of money. You can actually live off that, certainly here. Of course I'm a little short of the 850,000, but it's still interesting. Under the sticker, which sticker? That one was slightly reluctant. I really do hope... Well, look, I'll be honest and say I'm be happy to get pretty much anything at this point. Yeah, I may regret saying anything, but it's... we're in a situation that over the last 15 years or so, when we could have or should have been saving for various things, plans kept changing, and it made it very difficult to know what to do with the money at the time, things like that. In the end, there was a fair bit of financial wastage. And yeah, it was no one's real fault. It was just, that's what happens when you tend to make decisions in a reactive type basis, or when you really don't feel like you have the capacity to be able to take charge of certain choices. Yeah, rather you feel like you're just being dragged along by life in general. There are certain times in your life when you certainly do have the power to make the choices that you want to, but there's also a lot of times where you just have to make the best choice you can at the time based on what you have. And even though it may not perhaps be the actual best choice, you sometimes don't have the ability to make the very best choice. I've mentioned before, it can be quite expensive to not be able to capitalize on good deals. I mean, it is. And so you waste a lot of money because of the fact that you don't have a lot of money. As I say, it can be quite expensive being broke. Not that I'd say I'm broke, not even, by no means am I broke. All the bills get paid, all that sort of stuff. There's none of this begging down on the street or anything like that. Don't get me wrong there. But it's really more of a case of it's just becoming a little bit frustrating that I keep running into these roadblocks and issues and things like that, and I'm starting to wonder, maybe I'm just utterly incompetent in that sort of area of life. I never used to be, but I guess life changes. The upper left, right, the serial sticker. I'll explain it. Sometimes life is like driving on ice. Yeah, very much. One false move and you're going through. I mean, it's easy enough to go out and read about how you should do things, know how you should do things, and then I guess it's sort of like the difference between knowing the way and actually walking that way. Itchy nose. Always got an itchy nose. Australia is expensive. Queensland is also very expensive, which is funny because we're a bit of a backward type state. We're a little more country ruffian in general, but by golly gosh, we certainly pay through the nose for a lot of things. I guess a lot of that is simply because we don't have the population density for the area. Well, that's actually redundant. We just don't have the population density, and so we tend to pay a lot more for our fees and everything. I'm just taking this cap off because the cap's been destroyed by the corrosion. Sometimes all you need is luck. Yeah, I mean, I'm not specifically... I don't like to believe in luck in the sense of everybody has equal luck and stuff like that. I think you definitely make your own luck. Even though I'm not having a great run of it, I still believe that it's my responsibility to make my own luck. And it's certainly a contributing factor. Because after you've done all your planning and you think you've got all your ducks lined up, then you hand it off to the universe and you just gotta wait and see. What value is that cap anyway? It's probably some trivial jelly bean type cap. Let's see. All in. Oh yeah. 100 nanofarad, 6.3, 201 rather. Your resistors. I want capacitors. Karma takes forever to pay off. You know, not a big believer in karma. Ones. I mean, it'd be nice, but I think the big problem I have with karma is the fact that bad things happen to people who haven't deserved it in the first place. It's just, it happens. As far as I'm concerned, the universe for the most part is pretty much apathetic, benevolent, doesn't really have a say in things. But all the things participating in the universe have an influence on things. Just like the fact that I can't find a suitable flippin' cap right now. Oh, come on. Why have I got so many 402? Ah, here we go. See, complain to the universe and you get it. Hey, what the? I'm just reading back on the chat, sorry. Bob reminds me of the whole bank fine things. You use the bank to store money, when you run out of money they charge you. Oh, yeah. Yeah, the banks make a tremendous amount of money fining the people who can least afford to be fined. I mean, I get it. You should be responsible with your bank account and make sure everything's kept in the right levels and things like that. But yeah, sometimes things just go wrong. And then what doesn't help, and the banks don't give two hoots about this, are public holidays. When public holidays come along and they ruin the schedules on things, either you getting paid or the bank itself doing the transfers, and they still penalise you, it's like, that's real rich. So, Prodigy Australia went for a car loan recently. The best I got was 20% deposit and 49%. Gee. Yeah, it's oh my god, Nihil's here. Hi man. What are you doing here? ND Nihil is a person whom I've known for quite a long time. We spend a lot of our time and effort crashing aeroplanes, amongst other things. We were very good at it. We're very good professional aircrane crashers. But I've since retired from that rather spectacular lifestyle. Anyway, good to see you here. Let's see. We've got to find what that resistor was, even though it's probably not important. Let's see, R1920, what was it again? Oh, 201, 750 ohm. I'm going to need my resistor book for that one. I used it like 20 minutes ago. before I started this live stream on another job. I'll just put my capacitors back. I will fair warn. Let's see. Let's get back onto. I will fair warn you. If you get these books, don't expect the resistor strips to last for very long. I found that the glue goes off very quickly, and before you know it, every time you pull the strip out, like when I'm going to pull the strip out here, you'll find that it delaminates far beyond where you requested it to, and you lose quite a lot of your resistors. AQs, I don't fly anymore. I want to, but there's just no time or money in life at the moment for it. It's also a bit addictive, particularly if I get going with my discus launch gliders. I find it very hard to control myself with that and helicopters. I know quads are all the rage and all that, and quads were basically coming in very strong at the time that I stopped doing model aircraft or RC stuff. But yeah, for a real flying challenge, then certainly helicopters are still my thing. I can't fly a helicopter at all very well, which is why I keep spending way too much money on it when I can. But the other one, discus launch gliding, I love that because, again, it's an extreme challenge, because you're essentially using your own power to launch the glider up. You get up to about 30-40 meters height, and then you've got to try within about 30 seconds catch yourself a thermal and hopefully have a decent flight. All the while, because it doesn't happen every time, you get one heck of a workout because you're constantly throwing that thing up in the air. Okay, that cap's got to go too. Yeah, quads are sort of kind of boring now. Quads were interesting when it was still in the development phase, and everyone was trying to work out how to program the various microcontrollers to get everything to work smoothly. But now that it's pretty much a turnkey process, the actual flying process of a quad is kind of a bit of a yawn. I'm melting. Get off! Ah, I didn't want to come off. Andy, I don't know if anyone still stocks the Quick Flick 2 anymore. The one that ended up being even more popular, I think, than the Quick Flick was the Slipso, the Slipso 400. I think there's still a few clubs that run that as their pylon racer entry, fixed model type. I don't know what cap that was. Hey, Nuts and Proud, which Linux do you use? What part am I even looking at here? So is this bottom cap here? It's probably another jelly bean. 1 microfarad, 6.3. Oh, here we go back to overhead. No, wrong. Okay. If you do get one of these books and you get the combination, seriously dude, it's past midnight. You get the ones with capacitors in them. Don't really use the capacitors, because one thing you'll notice on them is they have no voltage rating on them. So you don't really know whether you're dealing with a 6V 3 rated cap or a 50V rated cap. And you go put it in your circuit, and chances are you'll probably get the wrong side of the line and they'll go and pop, whatever. So the capacitor kits, unless they have voltage ratings on the strips, are useless. Don't use them. But for resistors, yeah, they're pretty good. Oh, what do I need? 1 microfarad, 63201. A hickory smoked tuna. That's an interesting name. 100 nanofarad, 10 nanofarad, 50. Again, the 201 curses after me here. I've got 105, 402. No flippin' idea. Not even the right values. I don't know why I was looking at that. No. No. I've really got to stock up on my 201 sizes because I've got nothing there. Jack Oscar, the postage, are you meaning to send to me? Are you in Australia? That's the first thing. If you're not, then don't send it to me. If you're in Australia, to send it to me, I would say just really wrap the heck out of your MacBook with bubble wrap and cardboard and box it and just do it way over the top, but make it so it just fits into a 5 kilo express bag. The reason being, scratch the nose, what is going on here? Auto switcher just knocked me off. Just turn this off. The packaging thing is important because I've had quite a few expensive MacBooks turn up that have been bent, cracked, all sorts of things, and it's like, well, I can't do anything, that's not my fault. Yeah, it's tried the best to explain about the postage, but obviously I didn't explain it well enough. Essentially, all couriers are going to do their best to destroy your machine. So, with most MacBooks, barring maybe the 17-inch, they need special care. I use the 5 kilo express post bags, and either let's see if I've got one. Let's see. Alright, these are, try to cover up what I think is essential. These are double-walled shipping boxes for LCD panels. And I keep these because the double walling really helps, and in them, the ones you get at Australia Post, for like the BX19, they're only single walled and they will not survive the flight very well. So if you can get the double walled, that's excellent. Or if you can only get the single wall, well then you can still use them, but you really have to go to town with the bubble wrap. Let's see. For those of us who send the machines back and forth to each other a fair bit, we keep these boxes until they basically fall apart. Anyway, this is a typical sort of wrap up. There's multiple layers, and there's at least 3 or 4 layers. Essentially, you want it so that it does not rattle around in the box. It has to be snug, so when you shake it, you can't hear it slide or anything like that. So, and that way, you've got a pretty good chance that it's going to survive. I am trying a new system now where I have bought, just close that up. I bought I think it's about a 50-meter roll of 400 wide cardboard. It's single-sided with corrugation. So you have one flat side and then you have the corrugation on the top. And then I put a layer of bubble wrap on that, the same length, around about 1.5, 2 meters maybe, and then I roll that over the MacBook, and so it just forms like a roly-poly or whatever, and you get about 4 or 5 layers of that cardboard corrugation bubble wrap, and then I can stuff that into the 5 kg express post bag, and they turn up pretty good. Hey, who cares? Okay, you're in Adelaide, or are you saying I'm in Adelaide? Because I'm up in North Queensland, but I am from Adelaide originally, so it could be what you meant. Let's see. What's with the MacBook Pro in the background? The A1398, this one here. That's undergoing graphics testing at the moment. It's not a U8900 fault, that was a different one. Yeah, that was, I think it was corrosion in the VRAM chip area, which happens pretty often. Yeah, I'm using Ubuntu, just standard desktop. Man, I still gotta get that cap. What was it we need? 1 microfarad. Oh well, that was my gloves making that little tooty noise. So, I mean, how much do you pay for the boards you get off eBay? You're from Melbourne. Oh, right. The boards I get from eBay, usually I don't pay more. Well, the computers I usually don't pay more than about $100 for them, if I can help it. If they go over the $100, then I just you gotta learn to walk away from it. Otherwise, you will lose a lot of money. But if you're talking about blank boards, like just boards on their own, then usually not much more than, certainly no more than $50. Other than it, unless it comes with a guarantee that it's going to work or something like that. Essentially consider them as donors, and if you do manage to fix them or get anything good out of them, then that's great, it's a bonus. Otherwise, you're just going to lose money over time. My voice is cracking up. I need to find one of these damn caps. Let's see. So we want this cap here. It's going to appear on every single board, so probably best I pick a board that I have a billion of, which would be something like a 3437 or a 165. That'll do. We'll take a 165 and we'll go search, find a part, and we want to look for 1 UF, 6.3 volts, 0201. I'm just going to put that in as 201. It's going to hit basically every single damn board. I'd be very surprised if there's any boards that do not have that particular part on it. What? Oh, I'm in the wrong folder. That'll learn me. Here we go. This is really disgusting dirt. Cheap. No, you're kidding me. Let's try that. My name is Haim Callsign. Oh, okay. I never got my Haim license. I wanted to a few times, but in the end... Alright, so it seems like iPhone boards have it aplenty, but MacBook boards do not. Sort of, I got a 3330. Yeah, let's go the 3330. And on the 3330 C9490, I need to bring up another file. Open. Okay, time to get myself a 3330. No, 3332. 3332. You know, I'm going to just keep coming up with 3332s instead of 3330 that I want. Oh, you're kidding me. I've got a 163. I know I've got a 3330, but I can't seem to see it. Hey, Janzimi. Yeah, maybe it's this one. Maybe it's the one that I haven't actually marked. No, you're 3332. Alright, fine. Okay, on the 163, C106A. C106A. Finally. That should have been such a generic part that should appear on everything, and yet it doesn't. Did not. Oh, 163, right. Not 424, 3332, 163. There we go. I can pretty much see it already. Okay. So I've got this pair here, and then... Oh, son of a... It's a Gorham no stuff. Unbelievable. Alright, this is because this is my board. Well, close. I'm gonna do the dodgy. Because doing things dodgy is the Australian way. Let's see. If you don't do it dodgy, it ain't done right, mate. And I'm going to put a 402 on it. And physically, the size in this case really doesn't matter. It's not in a tight spot situation. It's not like it's an iPhone. It's just a happy little MacBook board that's suffered a bit of liquid damage. It needs to be repaired, and we're going to use a larger part than what should be on there, so it's going to walk with a little bit of a limp because one side is going to be a little bit bigger than the other. But that's okay. Things don't have to be perfectly symmetrical. I guess the real problem for me is, did that actually stick to the pads? Because normally there should be just enough overlap. Yep, that's good. It's wonky. It'll walk in very large circles. Yeah, what have I missed? No, nothing much that I can't see. Alright, so that's that one done. It was unusual for the fact that it's on the inner edge of the board, which is not where the junk has been building up. Alright, we've got this one up here. Yeah, I know. This is proving long and arduous for us all. Who cares? Yeah, I got the cage finished. I still do actually want to put a better roof on it, because at the moment it's just a plastic tarp type roof. It does have a... I do have a bearer is the wrong word. What's the thing you stick on top of bearers? I want to say a joist, but that's a flooring thing. A purlin, a rafter, that's the one. But I think I just need to put a skillion roof on there or something. Oh, sorry Therese. Maybe you should go to sleep. Okay, I'm just closing up the stuff that I don't need. We need to find out what it was that we just removed. Is this here? Which you all can't see. It's a 220 ohm display port connector control. Looks like that's a biasing resistor. So we will have to actually use the right one for that. What size are you? 201, of course you are. Some resistors you can get away with not using the correct one. Things like pull-ups, you can get away with a fairly wide range of deviation from the original. If you're on an I2C bus though, and you change the pull-up, one of the pull-ups, you better change the other one as well. Otherwise they will react differently in terms of speed and edges and things like that. But the actual value itself isn't so crucial. So if you've got a if your R2C wants 15k and you've only got 13k or 16k, then you can probably get away with that. And then there's just random pin pull-ups for chips, just to set the pin states, and they can be anything from, maybe it's 100k on the board, but chances are you can probably get away with having that as a 10k or a 10 meg. It really doesn't matter. A lot of the time that sort of thing is decided by what's the nearest resistor that we have that we're already using quite a few of, that will already be loaded in the reel for the pick and place machine when it goes past this area. Uh, 10k would be for high speed, I believe, or is it 4k7? It is specified, like whether you're trying to do 100 kilohertz or 400 kilohertz, stuff like that. There is a spec for it. But like I said, there's a great deal of variance, and the chips that talk the I2C protocol, they're very good at, almost all of them are very good at being able to handle a lot of variances. Not that you should use that as an excuse to do a shoddy job in the first place. It's more a case of, if you have no other choice, then there are some areas where you can get a bit sloppy with your tolerances. G'day ZX. I almost didn't see you there. Sometimes I swear I come back and I see conversations that I didn't see the first time. Right. Oh, we've got another. This one doesn't actually look quite so bad. Yeah, I thought so. It was just a speck of trash pretending to be corrosion. Right, well on the other side we basically have this, and I'm gonna make Lewis scream here, and I'm just gonna scrub this. Good wholesome scrubbing, and I won't even have to remove it. At least I hope not. I mean, I wouldn't want to have to put too much hot air in here because you've got your Wi-Fi connector there. 3V42 looks okay. Yeah, this might be ready for a spin test. Hello, bike tutorials. Bike tutorials. Well, you really should be on Lewis's channel when he's doing his befang things. Yeah, the JTAG survived. It's one area where Lewis and I differ. Actually, it's one of many areas we differ. He's in New York, I'm in Australia. He's in the northern hemisphere, I'm in the southern hemisphere. He has personal look issues, personal impression, mental self-image issues. That's the one I was after. Actually, I don't know if he really does, but he certainly plays up to it. I can program, he can't. He can usually fix Mac boards. I usually can't. He runs a very profitable, successful business. Now that's one thing I haven't yet quite worked out. I can have my moments where I can do some extremely profitable moves, and then I sort of just fade out and go back to coasting. Alright, we need a fan. I think one of the most sort of profitable moments, silly ones, that I remember as a kid was we had our grade 12 end of year graduation thing, and everybody was organising the dresses and the suits and things like that, and one thing that wasn't something that someone was doing was regarding the actual getting there, so the cars. And I went along and I hired myself a stretch limo because I thought, hey, I mean, come on, this is it was the late 80s, 1990 I graduated. And I thought, I'm going to get myself a limo, and it's going to be for me and my partner. I just mean the dance partner, whatever. It wasn't anything serious, much to my disappointment though. But that's another story for depressing days. Anyway, and everyone sort of laughed at me and sort of said, "Why are you doing that? That's so cliche." And because when you're in high school, you can't do cliche. That's not on. Yeah, so I still got it, and needless to say, oh yeah, by the way, fan spin and white light. Anyway, needless to say, the night comes along and all of a sudden my phone's going off the hook, and one of those proper good old rotary dial phones. And it was all these people calling me up saying, "Hey, have you got any room in that limo?" And so I started charging out seats in the limo for the price that I actually hired it for. So that night I think I made several $100s for that night, so it was great. Hey, we got a thing. So yeah, that was sort of like a moment in my life where I actually got things right. Maybe I just used it all up in that one moment. think the other one was I used to make FM RF bugs for school. I did it because originally I did it because I needed to be able to hear the teacher better, and the hearing aids that I had at the time were the ones that sit over your ear, and they are pretty good. But even with sitting at the front of the class, there was still too much noise coming in from areas that I didn't want to listen to. And so what I did is I built the FM bug thing, and I had a portable radio that I kept in my pocket with my headphones, and I gave the transmitter to the teacher, and of course she would hold it, or actually I pretty much only had female teachers for most of my life, and that just made life so much easier. And anyway, then I started selling these FM bugs, and that was a pretty good turn of profits there. Were you listening to dance music? No. Oh, the girl rejection. No, fortunately I never really sort of got to that point. It was sort of one of those friend zone type things, perpetual friend zone things. I still talk to that person quite a lot. We just ended up enjoying nice pizza sitting out on the veranda of the Queenslander home. Then around about 5 o'clock, they went home, and that was it. So nothing untoward happened like that. I saved that for a few years later when I was at university. University was my real bad time. Now, as far as I know, this SSD is actually dead, so that's why it's doing that. I'll see if I've got another one that is for this year. I don't think I have, but I'll check. And friend zoning can be pretty brutal at times, but it's also very good at times too. Okay, well, it looks like I do have one. This probably came from one of the 1369 machines, I think. I have no idea what's on it. Late bloomer. Yeah, I guess I was. I mean, most of my school years, it was all academic stuff for me. I was more interested in that. But yeah, once university hit, once the shackles were off me and it got into my head that I was allowed to do whatever I wanted because I was an adult, then I became probably more childish than I was as a child. Oh, we got an Apple logo. I have no idea what's on this solid state drive, so yeah, the blonde girl that friend-zoned me now. That was a different one. In the end, though, no, once I got started, now I'm very, very happily married. Have been for what's coming up 20 years soon. Would not change a thing. Not to say it's perfect, I mean, but that's marriage and partnership in life. The perfection is not obvious things like that. It's rather how you stick together and get through all the difficult stuff. Come on, man, boot. Alright, looks like we got a boot. I never did a C++ course that I remember. I did a C course, but not C++. Okay, so we got we've got an admin account. Password, I don't know. It's my own solid state drive and I don't know my password because I'm not the one who... Oh, looks like an account that logs in itself anyway. Is that screen dodgy? Oh no. I hate it when you get backgrounds on screens on iPhones and computers and all that that look, at least in small slices, like a defective screen. And I really hate it on the iPhones when they go into the blurred mode. Every time I think I've got something. Okay, someone's got uTorrent. This is someone's very complete drive here. And it looks like we've got Hawk from Avengers in there, in which case I'm definitely formatting this machine now. Yeah, anyone who has Hawkeye, I don't know, maybe he does a better job of being an Avenger in the end game. Oh well. Anyway, this is fixed. So there we go. Just a whole bunch of corrosion on that. We just picked our way through it and we have success. So I'll put that through the ultrasonic. And I've got to just happen to have a solid state drive that worked. Wow. Okay, so it's a win. And another 11-inch that I just won't find useful. I need to start handing these out to people, selling them, things like that. Let's see. Brandon Smith, watching from Louisiana. It's going to be nice and warm down there at the moment. Ever play with Lisp? Yes. I did Lisp at university, and I suck at it. I do not do well with functional languages like that. It just doesn't work with me. I am more of a procedural language person. About the only thing I came close to being good with outside of the typical sort of procedural C, Pascal type stuff is Prolog. But then I found there was a limitation of Prolog that I couldn't get around, and I sort of lost my desire to do it after that point. But yeah, so if it's SQL, Lisp, things like that, it's not for me. I know there are some people who will say that you're not a real programmer unless you can program those sort of languages. Fine, if they want to talk like that, that's their business. Me, on the other hand, I'm content to just keep hacking away at my C code, C++ occasionally, if Pernov is beating on me. And delivering products that people want to use. And at the end of the day, that's what it really comes down to. Is like, it shouldn't matter what tool you're using too much, as long as you deliver the results that people want to use. And I think that's what is the real key indicator of whether you're being successful or not. What schematics and board view would you recommend? Ismail, you just get the board view and the schematics off the internet through Google and bad caps based on what you need to use. So if someone gives you a MacBook Air A1466 with a 3437 board in it, and that's the one you get. So really, that's the one thing I've sort of got a bit of a trouble with, like ZXW, phone board and all those, is they come packaged with all these board views, and so people have associated the program with the board views, whereas really it should be seen, board view programs should be seen more like AutoCAD or WordPerfect, Word, things like that. They're tools to work with the data as opposed to being actually the data already imbued in them. So you got to get that separation. Board views and schematics, they're something that just get created by other people, and you've just got to find them. But that's what Google's for. Do those SSDs last better than the SATA hard drive types? I think it's much on par. The Toshiba, I think it was the Toshiba chip ones, they crash and burn all over the time. They're kind of like the OCZs. And my hands are too sweaty to get these gloves on at the moment, so I'll have to wait. The reason why I want to put on a new pair is because they were getting a bit too sweaty, and I've got another computer. This is an eBay one. Alright. Hey, Ricktech, what HP did you repair? What was rattling? Ah, the hard drive flex. Robin Wright, written maybe 500,000 lines of auto list for AutoCAD apps. Oh wow. Yeah, that. I suppose if you do it every day, that's different. You know, you get into it, you get used to it, and if you're already comfortable with it, then that's great. But I just wasn't able to. Perl was another language that we just did not get along. I tried so many times to learn Perl. This is back in the late 90s, because it was pretty much the dominant language for web-end, back-end servers and things like that, at least until PHP came along and ate its lunch. But I just couldn't do it, and it's not that dissimilar in many ways to things like C or Bash or a few other languages. But yeah, and I mean I do regular expressions all the time, but for some reason Perl and me, we didn't get along. Try talcum powder, yeah, I didn't have any of that, so I'll just have to wait. I find a spritzing of alcohol with some water sometimes helps. Hey Tim. Yeah, I have usually a pretty good rate of repair with the eBay ones, but I think also part of the success is knowing which ones to buy. There are a lot out there that I don't go for because you can just sort of tell by the way the person presents it that there's something really shonky going on with it. Or the type of damage, the symptoms they're describing, you know that it's more than likely going to be something that's not overly fixable. Hey, Jeffrey Fraser, it's pretty good at Perl. Yeah, I mean, some people are really good at it, and they produce stuff that, I mean, sure, it looks like line noise after you've written it. It's definitely a write-only language, but okay, I know it's not really, but yeah, we're just going with old stories. Yeah, but so, you know, I admire the people that are really good with it, but it's just not something I was ever good at. But PHP, I took to that like a duck to water. Likewise, Bash and Pascal, C, Basic. Yeah, we all mostly started out with Basic, at least if you're around my age, and then Quick Basic and things like that. Even that I didn't really like that much. It wasn't until I found Pascal, or specifically Turbo Pascal, that's when my programming side really bit down hard and took off. I've got no memory in this. I've better put a slot of RAM in there. Damn it, I had 2 sticks that were max certified the other day. Oh man, what have I done with those? Maybe I put them in the DDR group. Yeah, the vague listing is the one that has the most problems, damn right. Okay, this isn't the one I'm thinking of, but it'll do the trick. The ones I like the best are the ones that simply say was working, stopped working, just died. As far as I'm concerned, they generally have the best rate of success. Do you recommend thermal cameras? To be honest, I can't really recommend anything because I've never had one to try. I suspect, yes, they would be useful. Certainly, from what I've seen of like Jessa and Lewis and Jason SDS, they do seem to have a use. Particularly when you're dealing with the fine short, the shorts that aren't really full shorts, the stuff that is only raising up the temperature a couple of degrees at best. That sort of is where the thermal camera comes. Oh, why am I even turning this on? I can already see corrosion right by the audio chip on this thing. You just see it staring at me going, yo, dude. Oh no, that's not, that's Thunderbolt as far as I know. But that's audio. But I'm pretty sure this is Thunderbolt. And you've been botched. Yeah, you've been botched. Oh no, this one's probably going to be a bin job for parts. But I'm not too upset about that because I did intentionally buy this on the hope that the screen was okay. Because if you watched one of my previous streams, you'll notice that I've got a bunch of 3115 boards, but I did not have a single chassis that could handle it. Yeah, this board looks like it. To me, it looks like it's. The person damn well knew it got liquid damaged, and they've tried to scrub it off. Good night, Bike Tutorials. Thank you for popping in. I'll be curious to see if you can give Lewis a hard time over his bike activities. Then again, Lewis does do that for fun, as opposed to anything serious. So if people start giving him advice, he just sort of tells them to go ride their bike off the edge of a cliff or something. And I totally understand that. There are plenty of times when you're just doing something because just doing it is the fun. You're not trying to really know everything about it or anything like that. You're just enjoying stuffing around, making mistakes, all that sort of thing. Ah, hair in the eye. Oh, it's nice when you get them and all they needed was a clean and they fire up. I don't see too many of those happening. It is getting harder on eBay to get a win. A lot of us are getting sniped out or outpriced by our own associates. So I've got to stop grabbing them because I really don't have any need for anything more. So what I'm going to do with this is I'm actually going to get one of my existing 3115 boards and see if it works. And that's the sound of Paul wondering where he put them. Ah. Okay. Which ones are you? So this is a box of eBay boards that have been repaired, ready for the day that someone cries out for help and says, help, help, I need a 3115, and they need it to actually be working on that right there and then. And then hopefully I'll be able to jump up and say, I'll save you, let me take that board and give you a new one. Oh, great, great. Those memory modules I was looking for, just found them. Yeah. Thank you, universe. What other machines do you like to work on beside the 1466? Well, obviously the 1278, 1278? Yep. The 13-inch MacBook Pros. Mostly because there's not a lot of hidden misbehaviors in them. Yeah, you pretty much now know what you're looking at in almost every case. which means I'm not really expanding my horizons enough. I think right now my biggest problem is that I've got so many other things outside of repairing the odd MacBook that I really just don't have the time, says he who is doing a random eBay thing at 1 o'clock in the morning. Phillips head. Okay, now my workbench is getting a little bit crowded here, and what's going to happen is after I'm done with this, if this boots the way I want, I'm going to walk out of this office, go to bed, probably around about 3 o'clock after I accidentally click and watch some more Stranger Things Season 3. Constantly telling myself, go to bed, Paul, don't watch this, go to bed. And then I'll wake up far too early because the courier man will turn up and he'll beep his horn and I'll have to get up and look like some wasted college student as I go to the door and try and sign my name. And then I'm going to come down to this workshop and I'm going to be like, oh man, what a mess. I'm probably going to trip over things. I'm going to stump my toe, I'm going to swear, I'm going to declare that it's a bad day and I need a MagSafe. And then because of that, by the time I get to the end of the day, I'm going to want to reward myself because I had a bad day. And so the vicious cycle starts again. But of course, when you're an adult, by law, you're allowed to do dumb things like that to yourself for years and years and years. There we go. Oh wow, that actually dropped in. Ha! The universe has been nice then. The connector actually fit. That was the problem we had with the previous one. The other ones I have with the 2936 screens, and they don't fit very well with the 3115 board. And you can make it work, but I'd rather not butcher the working stuff I have to do that. And which is why I bought this eBay job, so that I could have a proper 3115 board, chassis rather. Come on, get in. Get in. How do they do this at high speed on the production line? That's what I want to know. I mean, Apple's so pedantic about optimizing things, but the construction of their machines and equipment and all that makes you wonder about that. Xenon G, I already look like a wasted college student? Oh well, way to go, bro. So I get tempted at times to go back to university just for the hell of it. But then I'd just be one of those annoying mature age students that thinks he knows everything, tries to lecture the lecturers, delays the class, causes everybody to end up getting more work. Yeah. There we go. Let's see. No, I guess we'll just try and boot this. I'll put my Mojave USB stick in there. Prodigy Australia. Are you interested in more boards? As I said earlier, I work at a recycling place in Melbourne. iPhone, Samsung, MacBook. MacBook boards, certainly. The others, PC stuff I've long since given up on. It's just too hard to get a hold of the information that I want, the board views and things like that. This MagSafe's a bit of a misbehavior. Or maybe, yeah, there we go. Yeah, we've got a fan spin on this. Okay, let's see how we go. It's just going to boot to Mojave if we're lucky. iPhone boards. I really don't do enough with iPhones, but I think, well, iPhone people can sometimes do MacBook boards. It's also the same. Mac people sometimes will do iPhone jobs, but we don't seem to ever sort of equally cross over. Look at this. This is great. Looks like the chassis's fine. I guess we'll see when the keyboard works or not. There's a bit of corrosion on the trackpad. But the trackpad, I can replace that easy enough. I'm not expecting this to boot too fast. It's only got 2 gigs of RAM in it right now. So with that board that I just pulled out, I'm going to just turn that into a donor, which means now I've got about 6 or 7 donor 3115s. That's fun. This shouldn't have to order any more now. But now that I've got the frame, I can actually test things. Let's see. Prodigy, if you just send me an email and we can have a chit chat. Are PCs more difficult to repair? It's more that it's not that they're specifically more difficult to repair. In some ways they're easier. It's just that because each one is fairly much unique in its own, and you really don't, unless you're, say, like working at a Lenovo repair center or something like that, you don't tend to encounter the same board sufficient number of times that the investment in learning that you put in for the first time pays off. So you're perpetually running around doing these extremely long repairs because you're just trying to catch up with everything you need to know about the board. So it's just not a smart thing to do if you're trying to cover everything. And that's why people like the MacBooks or the iPhones, because when you invest your time into learning about them, the particular boards, then that pays off pretty quickly. And yeah, the availability of the schematics and board views, you think MacBooks are bad, the PCs are just even worse. And you go to the various online shady sites where you can buy the stuff, and many times you'll just be buying something like a service guide when you think you're actually going to get a board view. You're not. You're just getting a service guide, and it's just a bad quality PDF with very coarse circles, bad writing on it. It's essentially useless unless you're just simply you're paying lackeys or people who don't really actually understand anything what's going on to just be probing the board, and it doesn't cover probably most of the type of failures you get, like from liquid damage or stuff like that. Okay, so we've got trackpads working. Clicks working. Yeah, that's the other thing. Yeah, you get the board view and the schematic that you think is the right one, and they rarely match. I mean, I shouldn't say they rarely match up. They do often match up, but there are also that many different sub-revisions or variants that you spend so much of your time just chasing your tail, trying to understand what you're even trying to deal with. So when it comes to PCs, I'll look at them, I'll look at the board, and basically I'll go into janitor mode, to use Lewis's term. And if I can see some corrosion on the board or something obvious, then fine, I'll try and fix that. But if I've got to try and break out a schematic and things like that, then chances are it's probably going to be a no fix. Let's see. Let's see if we can plug in the Wi-Fi. Yep. Okay, it's picking up Wi-Fi. It's good. Let's see. Keyboard works. Alright. So we've got a working chassis. That's great. So we did actually end up with what we wanted. Let's see if we can turn that off. Okay, it works. Great. So it was a little bit expensive. I think I paid just $100 for this, Australian. So I got myself a donor. And if I was truly desperate, I might consider fixing this, but looking at the type of damage it's got on it, it's probably more than likely going to be one of those that you think you have it fixed and then something else comes up. Let's have a look over it anyway a little more. I'm not actually going to fire up the grill or anything like that on this. It's more a case of for curiosity's sake, and it's late. So I mean, I've got that many working ones already now. Good collection of hair. Judging by the damage, the whatever it was came in very much on the plate, the bottom of the chassis, the removable bottom plate, and it just sort of got sloshed and splashed, and just sort of like splashed up there, splash. I don't think it was specifically picked up by the fan itself. I mean, it could well and truly be repairable, but like I said, at this point I've got, yeah, so we've got damage up that on that port. That's actually eaten into the pads a bit there too. Yeah. You'd have a hard time convincing me to go for this one. I mean, our 6295 is all beaten up as well. There's more than likely going to be a good number of secondary issues just waiting. So you'll get your rails back up and then you'll find something else doesn't work. And then you get stuff like this. It's asking for trouble. Oh, Tim, thank you. Thank you very much. So I think that's pretty much it for tonight. Yeah. Sorry, just stuffing around with the microscope here. Okay. Get these off. Let's see, MBAir, fixed mostly PCs, half what it goes BIOS or EC crap. Yeah, EC. The rest of the liquid damage or blown input FETs. Yeah. Yeah, if it doesn't show up as an input, DC input stage, charge issue, corrosion on the EC or the on-off button, stuff like that, it's really probably not going to be worth your time. And it comes down to cost effectiveness. yeah, if you're trying to prove how smart you are or something like that, or how what your tenacity level is, then yeah, you go wild and spend your time on these things, spend hours, days, whatever. But if you're trying to actually make a living, then stuff like this, you got to turf real quick, because you're just going to waste your time on it. And I don't take my own advice, obviously, but in my mind, I know that's what I should be doing. To be fair, if I don't have something in the waiting in the queue behind a job like this, then I may actually just tinker around with it, just simply to try pick up some new experience. But if there's a queue waiting, then it gets pushed out pretty quick. How's the CNC coming along? I do have the money to get one. Not really the one I wanted to get, but there is now I think it's a 2520 size, so it's even more compact than the 3020. And it has the same steppers and the rest of the gear as the larger one, but being a more compact frame, pardon me, compact dimensions, I'm hoping it'll be a little bit stiffer. It's still only 300 watts. Maybe it'll be enough to get through the Durastone stuff, but I don't know. I guess it's one of those things where I'm going to have to take a gamble, buy one, see how it works out, and hope that I can at least get a halfway decent version of what I'm trying to do. A Stray 77. I don't even know. I've basically stepped out of tokens and crypto, things like that. Basically, I only use PayPal, or people just buy or get me to do jobs. I'm not really a Patreon type person. I find Patreon makes me feel a bit funny. I know we shouldn't be talking about emotions when it comes to money, but it's just the whole Patreon environment, and the whole notion of you're being paid to then create the content, as opposed to people paying you for what you have created. There's a bit of a subtle difference there. I don't want to really feel like I've got the whip on my back, because I already have enough whips tearing at my flesh, important ones. I don't want to have to be sitting here thinking, well, these people are paying me money to produce content and I'm not delivering on that. And because they have paid me, they're going to be expecting it, and I would actually want to deliver because of, money's being paid, as opposed to as things are currently, where it's a after the thing has been done, so to speak. It's getting late. I'm waffling. Thought about designing one from scratch, resell the plans. What's this for? Oh, for CNC. In the old, 10 years ago, 5 even maybe, it might have been something worth doing. But these days, CNC machines seem to be very much turnkey. It's easier to take one that's already got everything you want, and then if you do have more specific requirements, like you need a higher tolerance in one of the axes or something like that, then you can replace out the screw threads or update the steppers or something like that. But doing it completely from scratch, it's probably a bit of a loss these days. It's if you want to do it for the fun of it or the experience, definitely. But if you want to try and do it for economic reasons, I'd say more often than not you're probably going to end up spending more money than if you just buy a $180 thing or something like that. Alright, I'm going to go get some sleep. Thank you very much for sitting around watching me diddle-daddle. At least we got that 1370 up and running, and at least we know the eBay chassis is working, so I did kind of win there. I do have another eBay machine coming in. It was actually supposed to be here last week, but the person, something came up, and anyway, it only got sent yesterday, so we'll have that a bit later. I've got more machines I do need to get out and done for commercial repairs, but I'm waiting on various answers back from things. So, rather than waffling on, I'm going to sign off. Thank you for watching. I'll see you all next time. You all take care.